I just got one bad habit. One bad habit. One bad habit. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, family, whatever side of the diaspora that you are on. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mental House with your host, Khadijah. All right, I'm back again with some of this talk um, concerning these psychological viruses that have been programmed and downloaded into our amygdala and in our brain, and that part of our brain uh, that regurgitates memory. And because of that, a lot of us have found ourselves in um, crazy relationships, um, actually detrimental and sometimes downright dangerous relationships because of the negative programming that we have been downloaded with. There are some of us who have become narcissists ourselves. There are some of us who are codependent. I'm sure you guys have heard of these terms, but it all comes back to that family system that began to indoctrinate you with their most frivolous form of mental abuse. That's the best way I can describe it. So whether they knew it and whether they did it on purpose, it's totally irrelevant. The bottom line is those of us who have been raised under these kind of circumstances have work to do, and that responsibility lies on us. Okay, nobody gonna give a damn about how crazy your parents was when you're treating them like shit, or nobody's going to give a damn about how your parents was when you're allowing somebody else to treat you like shit. Okay, so this goes both ways. Excuse my French, but I just want you to get the point. So, we were talking the other day about this system, this family system of narcissism where everybody plays a role, um, whether some of the children are over idealized, scapegoat, you know, lost child. See, and this stuff transcends race. I choose to focus on the madness because if you can focus on the madness, then you can see where it's coming from. So now you're more able to navigate through this crazy system of not only um, family narcissism, but the outer racism slash narcissism. It's all the same. It's the crazy making. Okay? It's the concept of being caught and then a smear campaign being waged against you. So all the everything. You have to understand how crazy this is. I want to even touch on. There's like two articles I read where a mother went and purchased. One of them was the mother went and purchased a gun. She went to the store with her two little children and purchased a gun and went and drove, down somewhere, and then shot herself, and the children, killed them all. And it got me to thinking about the time that I think one of the earliest memories that I have of trauma, and I think I might have shared this with the family before, is that my mother was always adopting these children, always just add more and more and more and more children to our home. But she hadn't got really started yet because this particular child was a little girl, and her mother had all of her children in foster care because of abuse. And at some point, I guess she semi got her act together. However, whatever the circumstances, the county gave her children back. and she smothered them all and killed them, and they were on the front page of the newspaper, and it was very devastating. I was just crazy. Her name was Satrian. I can't even remember her last name, but it's public record. And this was like in the early '60s. So that was you know, traumatic for me as a child. And I'm thinking about what kind of mother is that? And what that you would get your children back. Just look at this madness. Instead of leaving them where they were, but you get them back, and you just can't take wounds, or you can't take what has happened, the changes that have gone through with your family. So you just decide to kill them all. You get them back to kill them. That to me was just an epitome, now that I am older, of narcissistic behavior. I tied that in with the guy that took his child and purposely left him in the car, the baby, and let him, just stop breathing and on purpose. Or the man that injected his child with HIV so he wouldn't have to pay child support. Well, of course, the child is an adult now. But these kind of narcissistic, these are parents that are just diabolical. And so nobody wants to deal with this because everybody want to think about your parents are supposed to be so loving. And they should be. And so selfless, because it's probably one of the most jobs that you can have, that you have to be selfless. So if you're not ready for that, that's the last thing you should do is have a baby. Because the baby goes beyond just being cute. And, oh, I got a little baby, and so-and-so has a baby. The emotional needs that has to be required and met for this individual are overwhelming. Okay, not let alone that it should cost you maybe $2 million over this child's lifetime to raise it. A lot of people not even thinking like that because they think they got somebody else to take care of the baby. The state can take care of it or whatever else, and they can just fall back on. I'm not here to, bash, but I am. Because, see, that stinking thinking, it's got to be, struck out, because all that's kind of narcissistic programming. Just like you would sit there, a person that sits there and have babies that they know they can't take care of. That is insane. Why are you having kids that you cannot take care of? Okay? Just the whole concept is out of control. Well, I don't believe in this, and I don't believe... Well, you should believe in not having sex and fucking... Oops, excuse my French. Well, you should not believe in that part of it. Before we get to the baby part, since you don't believe in abortion, you shouldn't even believe in laying down and making a baby that you can't afford to take care of. Because 9 out of 10 times, this child is going to be subjected to some type of narcissism, some kind of abuse. And that's the stuff that people don't want to realize, or they don't want to deal with. But what happens is, you can be born to people who actually encourage the siblings not even to be close with each other. If they got different fathers, all this kind of crazy stuff. This is not a healthy environment. It's not a healthy environment. So I'm not here to place judgment on the person. I'm here to say, why make your road miserable? Why make your life more harder than it needs to be? It's going to be rough out here as it is. And you need to be dealing with all hands on deck and all antennas up, especially so you can spot out some of these crazy making people. You have to be. So when it comes from the family structure, I'm saying this, your family is going to set you up, and you, if you don't understand the pathology of how this stuff works, and if you don't stay in constant, how do I say it? Constant, diligent study and not regurgitating, but just picking out and cleansing out and detoxing and all the bad programming, if you don't spend time doing that with your life, and you seem to be attracting the same type of people in relationships, or you find yourself addicted to toxic people, um, or if you haven't had an argument in a long time and you have to create one, all of these things could be how you say it, the residue of your narcissistic upbringing. Some people don't think they're in a relationship and it's not good until it's hot and fiery and we fighting it. Oh, we're fighting and oh, she loves me and I know that means she loves me, or that means, he loves me because, we're fighting like, because that's my soulmate. We fight like cats and dogs. Really? Really? Okay. I do believe that over the course of getting to know a person, there's nothing unusual to me about maybe conflict. But when two people are healthy, they try to resolve that conflict because the person is important to them. When you have a situation when the person is not really interested in resolving the conflict so that you could become closer, but more or less wanting to be right, and damn the anything else about coming closer together, then you're probably in a narcissistic relationship. Okay. And then when you bring children into this family system, and you're not even aware, Lord, hold on for the ride. Because most of your children, you're probably going to program them again with all these different slots, like in the mobile, and you're not going to encourage them to be healthy because you're not healthy. In fact, you're going to probably pit them against each other in a subconscious way. And you're going to produce children that are rarely even connected to each other um, on a healthy emotional level. They might be in competition with one another. Thus, you have Cain and Abel, like that type of situation. And this is very close to home for me, so it's kind of difficult for me to speak on, because a lot of times when you're going through that, that's where the problem is. You say, wow, my parent would actually not try to expedite to facilitate my sibling and I getting back together. They wouldn't use themselves as a bridge. You mean they would keep fanning the fuse, or keep my sibling and I estranged when they have a power to power as a mother to bring us all back together? And you use your powerful platform to keep your children, whether they're adult children, whether they're to keep them in competition, keep them in constant combat with one another. That's a sick reality. And for those of us who have grew up in this kind of situation, whether our parents did it on purpose or not, again, that's not our issue. The issue is you have to get honest about being raised like that did some kind of damage to you. And now you got to figure out what it is so you can be healthy and have a healthy relationship. And it's never too late to stop and think about it. Okay? Never too late to stop and think about it. All right. Because you deserve happiness. It's your birthright. You got to stop telling negative lies to yourself, because you've probably been programmed with it. You probably have a negative core belief system. You don't probably feel that you're worthy of love. You might have a programming that goes on in your mind that says you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not enough, you're not, and you constantly hear that, going that play talk back in the back of your head, no matter what you're doing. He's just like, you hear it. Something, you're not good enough. And maybe not, in that you're not even worthy of love. Some of the stuff that we deal with, this negative thinking, you know, you're not unique, you're not special, but you are. I I challenge you to find me one more person in this universe that has the same voice pattern as yours, the same fingerprint pattern as yours, the same dental work as yours. I challenge you to find me that. So when people go around saying you're nothing special, you're nothing special, well, the hell you ain't. You're very special. Okay? My mom used to tell me stuff that I just had to flip the perspective, because she said that when I was in the nursery, all the little babies were going, wah, wah. And her little baby was going, wah, wah. And she was like, oh, I hope my baby doesn't cry because her voice is horrible. She has a voice like a man or a boy or a grown up, a adolescent boy. My mom used to tell me that. Okay? And so for a long time, I'm thinking that not only did I probably not cry a lot, but I was very self-conscious of my voice. But God used this voice. He used this voice to touch many souls. And I'm not saying this to, to just say, well, um, this is how all parents operate, because some of them do it differently. You have to understand how some of this programming has affected you. Okay? But I'm glad that I took the time to try to find out why I tick and why I roll the way I do, why I feel the way I do. But in that journey, I do believe that I don't believe anymore in my circumstances dictate my success, whatever that means to me. And you could no longer set the standard for me of what success isn't or is. That's something that I have to define for myself. So all the things that I believe that I was not worthy of, or all the things that I know now, are my birthright. And for that, I'm real thankful and grateful. So check your family systems. Check your psychological viruses, whatever your weaknesses are. If you get real offended, and I mean that pit in your stomach when somebody says something to you like, hey, I don't like how you did, and you get real defensive all of a sudden or get real emotional, hey, you better step back, take a couple deep breaths, and find out what's downloaded virus in your psycho. What is the psychological virus downloaded into your brain? Okay? Please do. So you can think straight and get rid of some of this stinking damn thinking that we have. Okay. Listen, I'll be back a little later because this is a narc story that it needed its own time and its own space. But what do you do, when, well, maybe we'll be back. We'll be back a little later and share that story. All right? You like what you hear? Please like and subscribe. Talk to you in a minute in the mental house. Bye-bye, y'all. Hey, go